So hi guys, welcome back. I'm Barry if you haven't been here before. So I've been absolutely up the walls with between gardening here and managing the community garden at work. So I haven't really been making as many videos as I'd like to. So I'm just going to come on today in this type of video. We're going to do a walkthrough of my garden here to see the progress that we've made in the last 9 months. So we came here in October. We started this garden in October of last year, and now it's the start of July. So we've been here 9 months, and we're harvesting a lot of food out of the garden at the moment. We're pretty much getting all of our food that we're eating at the moment out of the garden, and we're supplying all our friends and our family as well from the garden. And it's just myself and Yvonne that are managing it at the moment. So we'll have a quick walk through and look at some of the systems we've in place and some of the crops that we're growing, and I'll talk a bit about failures and successes that we've had since we've came here. Hope you enjoy the video. So this is where we'll start off before we even get into the garden, and my apologies as well if there's a lot of noise. The farmers are cutting silage behind us in the garden. So this is our potted concrete slab that we have here. So we've been collecting different flowers, myself and Yvonne, the last few months, and we just can't decide on where we're going to put them at the moment. So we've potted everything up, and we're going to take a lot of cuttings from these and hopefully multiply this to make beds in our garden. So when we do, we will have a lot of flowers. There's a lot of delphiniums, some lilies, phlox, there's geraniums, there's a lot of different flowers, some verbena in the back, lamb's ear, nasturtiums, roses. There's a lot of different stuff going on here. But this just really brings us joy when we're coming into the house. So this is the entrance we use into the house. We get out of the car and we get to look at this every day, and it's absolutely beautiful. So when we came here first, this was mostly all just maintained lawn. There were some steep banks, as you could see, so we had to make a few decisions on what we're going to do with the lawn. I don't want to be cutting grass, so we decided to let the grass grow wild and just harvest it and cut it once a year. Keep one lawn section for making compost down in the main garden. We installed a nice little herb garden here as well near the house. So we obviously, for obvious reasons, these are probably some of the stuff we use every day. Different herbs like mint, parsley, rosemary, marjoram, there's tarragon, chives, bay. So we needed to have this stuff near the house so we don't have to be walking down through the garden to get them every day. So as we are going down here now through the garden, the banks on the left and right are totally overgrown, so we just carved this little path with the lawnmower through for easy access coming down into the garden. Eventually these banks here on the left and the right, and the steep banks, these first ones here are maybe 45 degrees, with the bottom one being upwards of 55-degree slope. So what we're going to do with them, we're going to probably turn them into native woodland, so have really densely packed native trees left and right, and hopefully then we won't have to manage the grass as much, and the chickens can come roam free. On the left, I don't know if you can see that, but we already started off with some native trees being planted and shrubs going in here. So we have a line of hawthorn, hazel, rowan, there's some oak, and just sycamore. There's some native trees to increase the biodiversity within our garden. So if you've been following on our video, you might have seen that this was completely overgrown back in October, and we came in and cleared this area here totally out. We have 20 hens as well here. So we were managing the hens in the compost system, using them as well here, in the compost area, using the hens to make compost with us and feeding them through the compost system. But what we've also done now as well, we've put in an area here for our hens to get some time out in a pasture in the grass. So we leave them out here for a few days at a time. We bring them in and out every day. They spend every evening inside their coop and run over here, but we bring them out here during the day. When we notice the grass is getting trampled a bit, we leave them then inside the compost area for a few days. So they're getting a nice variety of different areas, and we plant kind of crops around then that the chickens like the peas here now as well. The chickens have been munching on the peas and stuff. And again, this is our first of our flower beds here, which is coming into flower nicely. And Sky, when we came here first, one of our main concerns was Sky and the chickens, whether he'd get on with chickens or not. And it took a few months, but no, he absolutely loves the chickens. He thinks he's one of them. Isn't that right, Sky? And he just wants to hang out with chickens all day. I've never seen anything like it. There's such a change. So here now as well, we have a block of corn which we planted, and underneath in the understory of the corn we have our squashes growing, a lot of different squashes, crown prince, paddy pans, and just different round and straight squashes growing in here, and there's a few pumpkins as well also growing. The corn, the variety here is lark. So what we did here now as well, we just turned the soil over and we mulched the whole area with horse manure. This bed literally took us maybe 3 hours one evening to put in. I wasn't sure if the corn was going to grow that well, and it's absolutely thriving. It's up nearly to chest level on me already. There's nearly 200 plants in here, and also along the side we've got lots of peas, sunflowers growing along here on the sides also. So I don't know if you see in the background, what we have is growing up along the sunflowers. We have climbing beans which are winding their way up the sunflowers, and some of the corn that we've growing at the end here as well. That's the first crop that we've planted. It's ready to be harvested now, some overwintering garlic. The bulbs are absolutely massive. That's a hardneck variety garlic that we've planted, and the bulbs they're maybe tennis ball size, some of the bulbs here now that are grown. So it's just pick a day now coming up and to harvest them. We're also coming to the end of our broad beans harvest. We've had absolutely an amazing harvest of broad beans as well. We've been making a lot of falafel from the broad bean falafel. It's absolutely amazing. Same with the peas. There's different varieties of peas. This one here, for instance, is a pink variety called Shiraz. So we're letting them now go to seed so we can collect the seed, but we were eating them as maunch too. But you can also eat them as peas, so if you open them up there, they do contain peas as well. But our main pea variety, which is here, this is Hurst Green Shaft, a prolific pea. They're absolutely amazing. Massive amounts of peas come from these. And my own personal favourite here then, which is a sugar snap. These are absolutely beautiful to eat. Very tender pods, and beautiful flavour, beautiful taste, and can be eaten at any stage. Here then we have our compost area, which we started making compost last year. We bought in I think 2 ton bags, 2 cubic meters of compost when we came here first to put to some of the beds, and we've been making compost since then. So that's some of the stuff here that we made in the winter. It's absolutely beautiful here now, ready to go, just to be sieved, and it'll be great for next winter, or to add to the beds over the winter. This is a pile now that we have, a hot pile that we've in operation that's being filled at the moment. And as you can see here now, we're up around 60 degrees, which is great because that will kill any weed seeds or any unwanted perennial weeds or any seeds that are in the heap that will kill it off. As for the chicken coop, then the chicken area, we're using this then as a deep mulch, so we put a lot of any kind of carbon materials, and we kind of mix it up between putting stuff in the compost and putting stuff on the floor in the coop here. This doesn't look like it now, but this is about 6 or 8 inches of compost that's made, but that's aided by the chickens. So we pile up this, we as we clean out the chicken coop, we move it all around, we pile it up, and then we take out about a wheelbarrow of compost a week. Like this stuff now, I wouldn't recommend adding it as a potting mix or anything like that. What we do with that, we put it into one of the bays of the compost areas, and we use it as a mulch. We top dress our beds as a mulch using that. And this area then is our chicken garden. So any leftover seeds or seedlings goes in here. And then if we're going away for a few days and we don't want to leave the chickens out and about and we have to worry about feeding them, like I've just seeded this now with a lot of barley seed and some green manure seed and some brassica seeds that I had left over, stuff that had went to seed, and it's growing on nicely. This will get up nice and high, and the chickens can't access that. So if we're going away then for a few days, we pull up these gates and it lets the chickens have access to greens while being contained in here, and keeps them nice and happy. We don't have to worry about feeding them for a day or a night. And another note on chickens, like they're not the easiest things to keep in place. As you can see now, we were actually camping at the weekend. We went away for one night. We let the chickens in the compost area, and if you can see these brassicas here in the background, chickens got in and they obliterated the brassicas. So they may be a great source of eggs, and we're getting great yields from them, but they actually turn out they're one of the main pests as well in our garden. And they're quite hard to contain. So you have to kind of figure out how you're going to contain them, and there's a for and against, I suppose, with everything. So also here, this was an overgrown bank when we came in, so we've just seeded it with wildflower. We've put in all the strawberry runners that we collected from last year. We put them in here in the banked hill. We didn't get that many strawberries because we didn't weed it this year. The chickens go in there as well, so they eat a lot of the strawberries that were in there. But we're getting some nice poppies and some other corn, cockle, and some other wildflowers growing there. We also have about 12 apple trees planted. We've got tree here, and we've got another few here. So we've planted a little mini orchard here as well, which is going to be great as well. For there's no fruit coming this year, so next year will be absolutely great. We have a fruit section here now in the background as well, which we just put the fruit in with the plan to take cuttings off this year. Hello Sky, what's going on? How are your chicken friends? Some beautiful dahlias there, one of my favorites. So this is the only part of the lawn that we actually keep maintained. We harvest this grass and we use it to make compost, an absolutely fantastic source of nitrogen to go into the compost. This was an area now which we had the most difficulty with, our brassica section this year. We actually planted these brassicas here 3 times, and the 3rd time worked the charm. On the other first 2 occasions, the brassicas were decimated by slugs. So myself and Yvonne had to come out for 2 weeks straight every evening from when it got dark at around 10 o'clock, and we were out here till 12, maybe 2 hours every night collecting slugs. The first few nights we were collecting nearly 1,000 slugs between us. But it worked wonders, as you can see here now. We've got some lovely purple sprouting broccoli, among other things, growing. some cabbages, some kales on the left and right, some kohlrabi, Brussels sprouts are coming on, some red cabbage. One thing that did get decimated by the slugs, which was I found very unusual, was our onions. So this sorry looking bed here contained all of our onions, which they absolutely, there's just a couple here left in the shady part. Other than that, the whole lot of them were destroyed. Here then, which are absolutely thriving at the moment, are our potatoes. These are our main crop here. These are our second earlies, which we haven't yet had a look at, and these are what we're harvesting now at the moment. These are the first earlies, and we've gotten some absolutely beautiful potatoes for the last few weeks. I'm going to cut these now at the ground level, either today or tomorrow, leave the spuds in the ground and start harvesting them then as we need them. As well, what we did with these, we earthed it, so these are all grown in lazy beds, like all our beds pretty much are lazy beds. And what we did then as well, because rather than earthing them up the traditional way with soil, as if you can see, we've earthed all of them up with straw, which we think has worked absolutely fantastically, and it was less work for us as well. So the most productive space in the garden by far has to be the polytunnel. So here Yvonne is now trimming some of the borage, which are an absolute amazing plant, a force multiplier, great to have at the entrance of your polytunnel to bring in them pollinators, especially if you've got big crops of tomatoes and stuff, which you definitely want to have in your tunnel. So we've got, how many tomatoes, Yvonne? A lot of tomatoes. I think it's like 42 tomato plants growing here at the moment. So 2 big rows, and in between we have these beautiful French marigolds to detract the aphids, and they just look absolutely amazing as well. A few different varieties, some we're happy with, some we're not happy with. Like them beef tomatoes, Super Marinade or something like that I think is the name, they're not doing too well. We have Tigerella, we have Clementine, we have Moneymaker, and we have Sun Gold, which are by far the absolutely most tastiest tomatoes I've ever experienced in my whole entire life. And we're growing some things that you wouldn't usually grow in the polytunnel as well. Like we have this line of carrots here, not something that you'd often see in a polytunnel, but it's the only place where we have deep, rich, fine soil that we found carrots will grow. We've some brassicas as well. This was Romanesque cauliflower, which is gone to flower now, but we're still harvesting and eating from it, and we don't want to cut it back quite yet because it looks absolutely beautiful. Some lovely turnips which we've had early, or in the air they're actually Swede, Tweed, or an F1 variety. Some nice, lovely looking red cabbage. Getting lots of cucumbers and more carrots. And we're getting ready then to germinate or to grow on some stuff. One of our main crops that we absolutely love to grow is spring onions. We eat an absolute fortune of spring onions every day. And we grow them inside the polytunnel, and they grow so fast, so quick. And this whole bed, if you've seen in previous videos, during the early spring was spring onions. We just have a small section left here now, and we've got some lovely Polestar French beans which look absolutely amazing. They're like an ornamental, but they're going to produce some massive amounts of beans as well. Here are cucumbers which we've been harvesting the last few days. As you can see, these are a mini cucumber and they're absolutely beautiful. These are market more longer cucumber. These mini ones are an F1, they're partner. I kind of feel like I planted these a bit close together, but they seem to be producing quite fine. So that's it now for what's going at the moment in our garden. So that's it now, guys, for what's growing at the moment in our garden. I just said I'd give you a quick look and a quick tour just to see what we've done over the last 9 months. Our next main project here, something that I'm working on at the moment, is a nursery in this garden. So to figure out maybe a little tree nursery, because as I was saying earlier in the video, we want to plant a microforest on the bank, and I reckon it will take a couple of thousand native trees to get a nice little ecosystem going on the banks. We also want to grow on a lot of flowers because we have big plans, just to make, to plant some orientals or ornamentals as well around the garden. So it's a nice space that you want, like it's a nice space that I want to be in anyway, but just a nice space to come down and chill out. And there's nothing better than looking at some beautiful flowers as well in a massive food production garden. So they make it a multi-purpose space. So hope you enjoyed the video. Catch you again soon and have a great day. Bye. Say bye, Yvonne. Bye.